Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Linda Peavy, and I am the owner of LaPav Consulting. And I'm going to be the host for today as we talk about how to secure grants for Black-owned businesses and Black-led nonprofits. And as we wait until our guests begin to join us, we are going to let you know that we have a full about 75 minutes to go through the presentation. So welcome into the webinar. Again, my name is Linda Peavy. I'm going to be your hostess for this afternoon. And we're going to talk about how to secure the bag, how to get grants for Black-owned businesses and Black-led nonprofits. So as you come in, give yourself a shout out. So let me know what city or state you're joining in from. I am in Northeast Ohio, near Cleveland, where it is 47 degrees, and I'm not complaining because any of you who know anything about Northeast Ohio and Cleveland, you know that we could have a foot of snow on the ground, and it was actually snowing a couple of days ago. So I'm not complaining about the weather. So say hello to me as you come in. Hey, Heidi. Oh my gosh, we've got Cleveland represented. Heidi and Ariana and Shauna are all from the Cleveland area. Hey, Erica from Dallas. We got the Bronx in the house. Sharon is representing New York. Shakira is in from Durham. Durham, North Carolina. And then we got St. Louis in the house. And yes, Trenton is representing. Hey, Phoebe from North Plainfield, New Jersey. Thank you so much, everybody. My name is Linda Peavy, and I'm going to be your host for this afternoon, where we're going to talk about grant writing and securing the bag for Black-owned businesses and Black-led nonprofits. So those of you who know me know that this is going to be a no-fluff zone. It's time to get started. We have about 75 minutes full of information for you. So don't go anywhere. Whatever you do, stay until the end because I have a surprise for you, and we're going to do a very in-depth Q&A. So as we go through the webinar, be absolutely sure to ask your questions, right? Put them in the chat because we're going to get to every question at the end of the webinar. So we're going to get started. And the first thing I'm going to do is to show you like a 30-second television commercial of mine. It'll give you a little bit more information about who I am and what I do. And then we're going to get right into this presentation because we have so much information to share. All right.
Hi, I'm Linda Peavy, owner of LaPav Consulting. My passion is to place your organization on the path to excellence. Are you struggling to communicate your message, reach target audiences, or secure funding? From marketing communications to grant writing, we achieve your goals. We've worked with high-profile clients and have secured $17 million in funding for charter schools and nonprofits. Call today to discuss what your success looks like and how LaPav Consulting can help.
All right, so that's just a little bit more about me, and I'm going to start the slide presentation. And again, there's a lot of information to consume, okay? And so I want you to know that this is being recorded. So don't fear if you don't write everything down. Yes, you will get a replay of the entire webinar. So we're going to get started. And then again, definitely put your questions into the Q&A. Again, my name is Linda Peavy. Want to make sure everybody's in the right place. Grant writing for Black-owned businesses and Black-led nonprofits. This is my noon session, and have another live session at 7 o'clock tonight. So a little bit more about me. Yes, they call me the Grants Queen because I have secured over $17 million in funding and business development. And I have also created the scoring template, right, for the applications that you complete. I've created the applications. And yes, I do provide workshops all over the country for organizations such as the Urban League and the Council of Smaller Enterprises. And I am a proud alumni of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program. It's a fantastic program. So if you have a for-profit or nonprofit, please consider joining the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program. It provides such good information to help you grow your organization. So I have a link there. I've also been the executive director of a nonprofit. So while, yes, I have a small business now, for you nonprofits, I know how you feel about the need to get grant funding and getting those, little ugly rejection letters in the mail. I know where you've been. So let me know, though, who's with me. Are you a small business, or are you a nonprofit? Or maybe, and this is what I'm saying, a lot of small businesses are now rather starting nonprofits. So maybe you're both, right? So let me know, are you a for-profit, a nonprofit, or both? Just put into the chat and let me know who's with me today. So a little bit more about my journey to getting to the $17 million. I used to be a publishing executive in Pennsylvania. I got hurt and I had to come back to Cleveland. Literally, I came back home in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk, couldn't stand. And it took me 2 years to recuperate. And after those 2 years, I couldn't find a job. I could not find a job. Even though I had literally like over 25 years of marketing experience, couldn't find a job. So guess what? I started LaPav Consulting, and this year is my 15th year. However, when I started, one of my first positions was to become a contract executive director of a nonprofit, right? So I know how you feel. And literally the first week, I was called into the board of directors office and told that I had to write a grant to save my position, right? To save my job, to save basically the organization. And those of you may know, like oftentimes, we can speak real, right? We're all family here. Oftentimes we, right, people who look like us, are called in to save a project, save a program, or sometimes save the entire organization. Okay. And that's what I had to do. But guess what? I learned how to write that grant, and I saved my job, the job of the new executive director, and I saved the organization. And so it worked. But, I learned that the connection, right, between writing a grant and getting free money, you're going to hear that word all afternoon, free money, is possible. You just have to know the process. So we have with us a lot of nonprofits, a for-profit trucking company, Shanna. For-profits, nonprofits, both. That is fantastic. All right. Vanessa is a grant writer ready to start back writing for nonprofits. Excellent. You're going to learn so much information. And I learned that there's a connection, and I'm here to show you what the process is, because it's not just about getting a grant application and completing it and sending it in. There's a process to getting this money. And that's what I'm going to show you this afternoon. So what are we going to cover? Why this class? The 3 keys to funding, basics, just grant basics. How do you prepare to write grants? What to write, how to write. We're going to talk a little bit about bid proposals. How do you get noticed amongst a sea of grant applications? And then I'm going to give you grant research that you will use to find your funders, right? To find those grants. And then I'm going to give you some current opportunities right now for free grant money. And then don't go anywhere, because I have a bonus surprise for you at the end. So why this class? Look, we know that as nonprofits and entrepreneurs, we need help with funding. And guess what? It shouldn't always have to be about loans, right? We want free grant money. But we know that there's also like a qualified professional freelance grant writers. And let me tell you, there's a difference between a professional grant writer and somebody who writes grants. I hear horror stories all the time, literally, about people being scammed, right? People saying, oh, give me $50, I'll write 3 grants for you. No. That's not how this works. So what I want you to do is learn these skills, right? So that you can write grants for your own organization, right? Nobody's going to tell your story better than you. And here's the secret. You don't need to be a professional grant writer. You just need to know what the process is. You need to know these skills along the way. And that's what we're going to cover today, right? So what to write, we're going to cover. How are you going to showcase your organization services, right? So that you're getting noticed. How to write. How do you write that really positions you as the best candidate? And then how do you attract people who literally want to give you money, attracting the right funder. Okay, so we'll start off with two different incidents that completely changed the landscape of philanthropy. One was COVID-19, right? Before COVID-19, it was unheard of for a for-profit to get grant funding, right? But what happened during COVID-19, hundreds of thousands of businesses, small businesses went under. They closed, right? And we know that small businesses are economically the backbone of this country. And so foundations took notice and major corporations took notice and said, we have got to do something to help save these small businesses. So they started to create these pools of grant funding. So that's why now, more so than there has ever been before, there is money, grant money, for-profit organizations as well as nonprofits. A lot of it because of COVID-19 and trying to save small businesses across the country. So you still will see some of those COVID-19 recovery funds. And if you do, you really want to be able to talk about how COVID-19 affected you. Did you have to lay off workers? Did you have to close? Did you have to shift? Right. So when you see those grants, really talk about how you were affected. But the point is, there's so much grant money available for profits as well as nonprofits because of COVID-19. The other incident that affected funding was a George Floyd incident when he was murdered. You had, once again, major foundations, right? And then major corporations saying, we have to do something. We have to do something to affect racial injustice, right, in this country. And so what did they do? They decided to create grant funding, again, free grant funding that could be given to organizations, especially minority organizations, especially Black-owned for-profits and Black-led nonprofits like you, who was maybe speaking to this issue of diversity, equity, and inclusion that we've heard so much about. But also, if you are addressing socially conscious causes, it could be everything from drug abuse to homelessness to the job market, any type of socially conscious causes that you might be addressing. And also because you are a minority-led or minority-owned organization, there is funding that was created, right, from many organizations for you because of the George Floyd incident. So that is why, once again, now there is more money available to Black organizations than I have ever seen. And I've been doing this for about 15 years. So the money is out there, right? So now we're going to talk about grant basics. So what you need to know about grants is that grants are not paid back. Okay. Now I saw that there were several nonprofits. For you nonprofits, okay, I'm speaking to you now. You need your 501c3. It is your tax exempt charitable organization designation by the IRS, and don't let anybody other than the IRS tell you that they can get you a 501c3 because it has to come from the IRS. It means that you're tax exempt, you don't pay taxes, but also your donors, right, can list those donations as charitable deductions. Avoid fiscal agents, right? So what is a fiscal agent? A fiscal agent is an organization that has their 501c3 and they're going to be receiving any grant money on your behalf. Well, that's exactly why foundations don't want to deal with fiscal agents, because if they're giving you grant money, they want it to go directly to you. They don't want a third party involved. So get your own 501c3. Most foundations require it. The good news is that it literally used to take 3 to 6 months to get it. Now the IRS, they're on a roll. People are getting their 501c3 in 6 to 8 weeks. So yes, if you are a nonprofit, please start applying, if you don't already have it, for your 501c3. Now, look at this slide here. This is amazing, okay? This is just from foundations, right? Giving in 2021 increased to over $90 billion, right? That's an increase from 2020. And guess what? When the 2022 number comes about, it's going to be even higher. Now, what does this mean? It means there's a lot of money available. Don't let anybody tell you the money's not out there, right? People thought that because we were in a pandemic, the giving decreased and we didn't have the money. It has increased. The money is available. Think about this. $90 billion just from foundations, right? We don't need all of it. We just need a little bit of it, right? So I want you to put into the chat, I just need a little bit, right? You just need a little bit. of the $90 billion. Can you imagine what you could do with your organization, with your for-profit, with your nonprofit, if you got just a little bit of the $90 billion, right? So I want you to put into the chat, I just need a little bit, right? We don't want to be greedy. We just need a little bit of the $90 billion. And oh my gosh, what could you do with just a little bit? That's right, Sharon. I just need a little bit. We're not trying to be greedy, Michelle. We're not trying to be greedy, Tiffany, Bridgetta. No, Heidi, we just need a little bit. That's right, Heidi. We just need a small piece of the pie. We don't need the whole pie. We just need a sliver, just a slice of it, just a little bit. Vanessa, right? Just a little bit. Okay. So think about this. What you need to know from this slide, the money is there, people. The money is available. Now, how do you prepare to write? And this is a mistake most people make. They don't prepare to write for grants. They get the grant application, they complete it, and they send it off. No, no, no. You have to prepare to write for grants. I always ask people to just hone up a little bit on your writing skills. I'm a professional writer and a professional editor, right? And I use Grammarly. There's 5 basic writing skills. We won't talk about 1 through 4. We want to focus on number 5, editing and rewriting, because I don't want you submitting an application full of grammatical errors. So we want to use Grammarly. I use Grammarly. It is phenomenal. And guess what? It is free. There's your word again. It's free. So if you use Grammarly, put it into the chat. This article, I'm going to be giving you tea all afternoon. This is the first cup of tea. And this is also your homework. Improve writing skills dramatically by doing these 15 things. This article is phenomenal. It will literally make you a better writer. So once we're done, I want you to download this particular article. And if you use Grammarly, so Jay Little uses it. Heidi. Yes, Sharon says she's a fiction writer. Wow, wonderful. She loves Grammarly. I'm telling you, people, it is fantastic. Okay, download Grammarly. Now, how else do you prepare to apply for grants? You get your documentation in order. The EIN, employer identification number. For you nonprofits, you've got to get your 501c3. Now, also, if you're a for-profit, you need your certificate of incorporation, your bylaws, your state certification. Now, not every state requires you to have a state certification or a business license. You need to find out, though, especially if you're a for-profit, does your state require it? Right? Because a young lady was on my webinar and she said she was applying for a grant and the competition was so stiff, but she was the only one that got the grant because she was the only one that could prove that she had a business license, her state certification as a for-profit. So make sure, more homework, you go to your Secretary of State's website, you download the information where you would get a business license and make sure you have a current business license. Now, again, not all states require one, all right, to do business or to be in business. I'm in Ohio. Ohio requires that we have a business license to conduct business. Not every state does, okay? So check it out. That's more homework. Next, you need your list of board members. You need letters of support. That becomes important. They could come from your pastor, your church, community leaders, because foundations want to know that there's people in your community that support you. So have those letters created before you start writing that application, because you want to give people time, right? Audited financial statement. Now, not all applications will require this, but if they do, you need your CPA to complete your audited financial statement. And of course, that's for current organizations. Next, you need your operating budget. Now, this is important for you startups, and I know I have some startups with me. You still need an operating budget, right? Because you need to know how much this is going to cost you. You're right. How much is it going to cost to open up the nonprofit or to open up the for-profit? But once you create that budget and you start looking at those line items and you start seeing gaps, that's where you apply for grant money. So maybe you have money to pay for the lease for the building or to pay for staff, but you realize, oh, I don't have any money for marketing. I need to apply for a grant for marketing. It will help you determine where you need money and where you need to be applying for grants. So make sure whether you're a startup or currently in business, you need an operating budget. And also list other funding sources, please. It could be other grants. It could be other literally in-kind donations, right? So this is important because no funder wants to be the only organization giving you money, right? Because grants are guaranteed, and they can't guarantee that they're going to give you the money in year 2, right? And so if they don't give you the money in year 2 and they're the only one giving you money, they don't want to be in that position that you're going out of business if you don't get their grant money in year 2, because it's not guaranteed. So whatever other funding you have, put it in the application. Again, it could be other grants. It could be other donors, right? Private donations. It could be in-kind donations. Make sure you include it. All right, now we're going to talk about what to write. So these are the basic grant components that you will find in a typical grant application. We'll go through these and then we'll look at them one by one. So your summary, mission, history, leadership, description of organization, your statement of need, right? How you describe your program or project or service, any community partnerships that you have, your outputs, outcomes, impact, those are your results. Program, project, staff, leadership, budget, and then sustainability. We're off to the races. All right. Summary. What do you need to know? Don't be fooled. It's the first component that you will see of that grant application, but you always write it last. Why? Because it's going to include the most compelling parts of that grant application. So just because you see it first, don't be fooled. You always write it last. Next, your mission vision statement. Now, all of you should have a mission statement, right? But do you have a vision statement? More homework. If you don't have a vision statement, you're going to be asked for one. What is vision? That's what you would like to have happen in the future if you are accomplishing your mission. What is a mission? Well, we know that's what you're doing now, your aims, your goals. It is so important to align that mission to your funder, because if you are focused on K through 12 education, you don't want to be securing or trying to secure funding from an organization that's focused on providing resources for veterans, right? You need to make sure your missions align. So that's important, and that will mean that you will need to do some research on that funder or that foundation to make sure you're on the same page. History. Every organization has a history. I get this question all the time. It's like, I'm new, I don't have a history. No, every organization has a history, because at the end of the day, it could be the impetus for why you even started the organization. And I take the example of the principal. She's a retired principal, and now she wants to start a tutoring organization. Well, she was a principal for grades 9 through 12 for years and years and years, right? And she saw that the students consistently underperformed in math and reading. So she decided if she retired, she would open up a tutoring organization, right? Well, just because she's brand new doesn't mean she doesn't have a history, because part of her history is the fact that she spent years in that high school setting seeing that students were underperforming, and it was the impetus for her to start a tutoring organization. So just because you're new, don't think that you don't have a history. Your impetus for starting your nonprofit or your for-profit, you write that as part of the history, because at the end of the day, we're talking about how you set your application apart from everybody else, right? Infuse your own experiences, right, into that application. Leadership, that's just your CEO, your COO, but you need to remember your board, they're also a part of your leadership, so list those as well. Now you're describing your organization, and for those of you who are seasoned, talk about your track record of working with whomever your target population is, right? Use those stats, use those statistics and how you were able to measure impact. It makes a difference, right? How have you been successful? Talk about how you've been able to change people's lives and those success factors. And then whatever experience you have with whatever the subject matter is, right? For the retired principal, what is her experience with the subject matter? The subject matter is education and kids. Well, she was a school principal. That's her experience with the subject matter. So again, this goes back to really infusing your own experiences into that grant application. Next, we talk about the statement of need. What is the problem? And this is what you need to know. There's always a problem. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what service you have, what products you have, you are addressing an issue. And it can even be someone who's in the restaurant industry, right? Maybe you have a vegan restaurant. What problem are you solving? The fact that there aren't a lot of really great vegan restaurants around for people who are vegan. Okay, maybe you have a service product. Maybe you are helping those who have been fired, or maybe they left their jobs and you're in career development. Well, that's a lot of talent that's not in the job market. So you're helping to resolve the issue of making sure that people's talents are being utilized. Always think about what you're doing in terms of resolving an issue. It could be something as simple as maybe you have a bakery, right? And there's a bakery and you want to relocate in the downtown community because you want to service the businesses. Well, you're thinking, well, what could that problem be? We're talking about cupcakes and cookies. Well, maybe that location that you're trying to move in has had failed businesses before, and you are going to contribute to the economic development of that particular area, right? Or maybe you know that your cupcakes are so good that the businesses are going to be able to utilize them to impress their customers. You have to think about what you're doing in terms of resolving an issue, right? And whatever that problem is, whatever that issue is, that is how you connect and find your perfect funder, because they're going to have the same area of interest. So if it's career development, you want to make sure that you're looking at a foundation that maybe funds people who are in business and industry, or maybe in career development, right? So that's how you really find out who your funder is. You have to connect what you're doing with the interests of that foundation. And then how do you find out about the foundation? Well, 90% of foundations don't even have a website, right? I'll say that again. 90% of foundations do not have a website. Okay, so how do you find information about them? Well, this is more tea for you. The 990 form. Okay, it is a gold mine. Don't sleep on 990s. 990, that is the tax document that foundations and organizations and nonprofits, they have to submit that to the IRS. That's their tax form. It is a gold mine because on that 990, you're going to get information about the leadership of the foundation, right? Their board members. But if you scroll to the end, you're going to see a document that lists every organization where they have given funding to. And that's where you look to make sure that there's a connection there. Because if you're an equestrian organization and you have horses that help to heal veterans, you're going to look at that particular document. You're going to look for any other organization where they've donated to that also have similar programs, right? And that's how you know, okay, that may be a really good match for me. So don't sleep on the 990s. Now, how do you get the 990? Well, you could pay for organizations that have websites that give you access to 990s, or free. You could utilize this particular website. Thank you so much, Irene, for putting it into the chat. Irene is my assistant for today. projects.propublica.org/nonprofits. It will give you the 990 of any organization that has filed. So don't sleep on 990s. Go to this website and you can get the information for what? For free. All right. Next, we're talking about the target population part of the application. And what you need to know is that you cannot be helping everybody. That is the answer I hear too often. No. You cannot help everybody. You have to look at who is best served, right, by your product or your service. When I take a sip, who is best served? That's that word, best, right? It can't be everybody, right? Think about who would be most benefited by your service. Look at the demographics. Maybe it's based on gender. Maybe your organization is geared for women. Maybe it's ethnicity. Maybe you're serving African Americans. Maybe it's based on income, right? Maybe you serve those who live below the federal poverty line. Maybe it's based on age. Maybe you're focused on senior citizens. I talked about vegans before, right? That's certainly a target market, right? Or maybe it's based on, right, Heidi? Yes, you can't help everybody. You cannot help everybody, okay? Who would most be helped by your organization? Or maybe it's based on geography, right? Maybe it's in your local area, right? Or maybe it's in your region or your state. Anytime you need demographics, go to the census. More free information, the census.gov/quickfacts, right? They will give you demographics. For example, let's say you have a daycare center. I have so many daycare centers, right? They have information that will tell you how many kids below the age of 5 is in the community. Don't sleep on the census, people. Census.gov /quick facts, free, free, free. All right. So at the end of the day, we're talking about how do you tell your story, because that's what you're doing on a grant application. You're starting with a message. You have to consider who your audience is. It's your foundations, right? Or your funders. You are selling your story to them. But what you have to remember, and this is important, don't make yourself the hero of that grant narrative, right? Because you're not the hero. Who's the hero? The hero is who you are helping. Why? Because that's where the transformation takes place. Think about those kids that are going to get tutoring now. They may be able to increase their reading and math proficiency and get their high school diploma and go to college, or maybe take a trade, right? Go to trade school, or maybe join the military, right? The transformation takes place in who you are helping. So as you're writing that grant narrative, you want to keep your focus on who you are helping, your target population, right? And again, as I said before, always highlight how you are addressing issues that they have, right? So ask yourself, are you really telling your story the best? Like those of you who have written grants before and got those rejection letters, did you really tell your story the best, right? Did you talk about how you changed lives or how outcomes were achieved? Do you appeal to emotion? Did you appeal to the emotions, right, of that funder or that foundation? You have to use real examples, testimonials, case studies, and listen to me when I say this to you. You need a website. Don't let anybody tell you that you don't need a website. I've been in this business for 15 years, and I know that one of the first things foundations do, or organizations that give grant monies do, they go to your website. They check your website out. Don't think you don't need a website. You need a website. Okay. Now, if you need one, I would be happy to recommend you to my web developer. She is not only a website designer, she is a website developer. Those are two different things. And she's been doing this for more than 25 years. So if you need a website, and she's extremely reasonable. I mean, some of the quotes I hear people saying that they're getting provided for creating a website. No. A website can be extremely affordable. So please, people, get a website. If you expect to ask for grant money, you need a website. So you can drop your email into the chat if you want information from my web designer about creating a website for you. I want to make sure you're in the best place and the best position to get grant funding, and you're going to need a website. Now, what is the best way to show transformation? It's through video. And literally, this does not have to be expensive, people. You can take literally a 2 or 3 minute video, right, and put it on your homepage of what? Your website. You need videos, testimonial videos on the homepage of your website. You have to be able to do this, right? And it doesn't have to be complicated. Please don't think it has to cost a lot of money. You can literally have somebody utilize, I'm an Android person, their Android phone, or if you have that iPhone, their iPhone, and literally hold it up in front of them and for 2 minutes talk about how this was like the best cupcake they've ever had in their life, or oh my gosh, she was able to transform me because she showed me like what different path that my career could take, right? That needs to be on your homepage. Testimonials, videos. Don't slip on videos. Oh, they can be so cheaply made. Even if they're not the one-on-one videos, if you want a professional video made, make sure it's no more than 2 to 3 minutes. Now you have a decision to make. Are you going to be asking for operating money or program project money? What's the difference? Operating money means when you get grant funds, you can apply it anywhere you want to, right? It could be IT towards your employees, right? W-2 or 1099. You decide where you put operating dollars, but keep in mind only about 32% of foundations provide operating dollars. Or maybe you have a particular program. Let's take that cupcake company, the bakery. She wants to start a delivery service. So that's a very specific project that she's going to be asking funding for. So either you ask for money so that you decide where it goes, or for a particular project. But what you need to know is that you need to be applying for both. So please, 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 those of you who are only applying for one grant, stop immediately. You need to be applying for multiple grants at all times, because you can apply for multiple grants for the same issue, for the same program, for the same project. So let's take that bakery. She wants to provide money so that she can start a delivery service. She should be applying for money from Foundation A for $20,000 and another $20,000 from Foundation B, right? And let's say she gets both. She gets funds from Foundation A and B for the same project, right? What she's not going to do is give the money back. Okay, so what you do when you get multiple grants for the same project, you expand on it. So let's say she was going to use the money to hire a part-time 1099 contractor. Well, since she got additional money, she can either create more hours for that person or maybe hire two people, right? You all should be applying for multiple grants for even the same project. So please don't do one and only. No. You should be applying for multiple grants. And where are you going to place the money? You really have to consider where your greatest needs are. Okay. Next, we're on to describing your project or your service, right? How has it been successful? Why will it be successful? So if it's something new, you do need to do your research. So let's talk about that tutoring service. She wants to use project-based learning, right, to tutor the kids. And so she needs to make sure that she has research in that grant that proves project-based learning is successful on urban kids, right, at that age level. So if it's something new that you're doing, just make sure you provide the research. But at the end of the day, it's about how are you addressing an issue or a problem, and just make sure you have a good timeline that is realistic, right? If it's going to take you a year, say a year, don't say 3 months, because you're not doing anybody a service by cutting down on the time if it's not realistic. Now, this is important. Community partnerships, and a lot of the for-profits that I talk to, they get really antsy about this because it's like, I'm not trying to share my money with anyone. No, it's not about sharing your money, because community partnerships don't necessarily need to include any type of financial agreement. It could be just an exchange of services, right? But it's important because many foundations and funders, they want to know that you are somehow partnering with other organizations in the community. And this can be the difference between whether or not you get a grant as a for-profit business or even as a nonprofit. You don't live and work in this silo. You have to talk about how you are helping your community, right, with whatever your service is, and how maybe you're even partnering with other community organizations. I'll give you an example. I was working on a grant many years ago for a third grade class at a urban Black school, and they wanted to teach their third graders the violin, right? And so we were working with the Cleveland Orchestra. Clearly, you Clevelanders know, like, one of the best orchestras in the world, right? So you can imagine a funder looking at this grant application and saying, wow, this small urban school is going to be partnering with the Cleveland Orchestra, this renowned institution. It's going to make you look good. Where can you partner? The Urban League, HBCUs, civic organizations like 100 Black Men of America, the YWCA, right? That bakery, well, she's partnering with an event planner. They're not exchanging money, right? But in that bakery, she has flyers and information about the event planner, right? And in that event planner's business, she is providing flyers about the bakery, and she's using the bakery service, right, whenever she has a need. So think of ways in which you can collaborate, because foundations and funders, they love to see collaborations. And this becomes really, really important, right? And especially if it's an established, well-respected organization like the Urban League or the Y, who can even give you a recommendation and give you that letter of support, but also talk about how you're going to be utilizing their services for whatever your organization is going to be doing. Now, we're talking about results, outcomes, outputs, outcomes, impact, right? It's forecasting, but don't be afraid of the word forecasting, right? All we're doing is looking at future results. That's it. So you may be asked to include one of these or all three. And I'm going to give you all three just in case that application is asking for all three. So this is about, what are you showing on that application that you're going to do with the money once you get it? right? So let's say you're asking for $20,000. Like, what are the immediate results? What's going to happen when you get $20,000? Those are your outputs. Your outcomes, that's looking at maybe 6 months to a year down the road. Okay, what's going to happen in 6 months to a year if you get the $20,000 now? And then impact is even a little further along. So what's going to happen a year from now, or maybe 2 years from now, as a result of the outcomes, right? Which are the result of the outputs. I'll give you an example of how you lay this out. A daycare center wanted $20,000, right? And she's saying, look, if you give me $20,000, my output is going to be, we're going to open in this great community that's been researched. We're going to serve 100 families and 250 children. Right now, you give us the $20,000 right now, we're going to open. Well, because we open in a great location, serving 100 families and 250 children, in 6 months, we're going to grow our capacity by 40% and add 24/7 services, right? Well, because we decided to add 24/7 services and we were able to grow by 40%, a year from now, this is what is going to happen. 25% of families will experience less stress. Why? Because they can drop their kids off 24/7. Wouldn't you experience less stress, right, if you could drop your kids off 24/7? And then 65% of children will have demonstrated improved behavior because they're coming through our stellar educational program that's a part of our daycare center. And a year from now, because we grew, because we added services, and because we opened, we're going to be able to expand to 2 locations. Now, all of this, again, future results that you believe will happen as a result of you getting the $20,000. And this is how you set yourself apart from everybody else that may be completing that grant application, because they're probably just going to focus on outputs. Like, you give me the money, this is what I'm going to do. But when you start talking about what the outcomes and the real impact is going to be, that's how you set yourself apart from everybody else who's applying for this money. Also, you're going to need to talk about goals, and they need to be SMART goals. What are they? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. And you need to have SMART goals, right? Not just goals. Well, how do you change a goal into a SMART goal? I'll give you an example. A goal can be, I want to reduce the poverty rate in Cleveland. Well, that's a big goal. That's a huge goal, right? What is a SMART goal? I want to reduce the poverty rate by 5% in Cleveland for Hispanic children under the age of 5 within a 5-year time frame. You see how I changed the goal into a SMART goal? What did I do there? I added data and statistics, and that's how you get to SMART goals. So you have goals, right? All of you have goals. You create SMART goals by adding data and statistics, right? And yes, everything's being recorded, so you will get the replay for those of you asking. The assessment tools. At the end of the day, how are you going to measure those results, right? Or measure that what you're doing is working? Well, I love surveys. Like, I love SurveyMonkey and JotForm. You can ask for, let's say, the restaurant, for your customers, right, to complete surveys or some type of report. So that principal, she's going to pull and have access to the reading and math scores, right, of her students before and after the tutoring, so that she'll be able to prove, yes, my program is working. So think about ways in which you can prove, right, that your program is working through assessment tools. And so those of you, maybe you have some other tools that you use, you can put into the chat. Again, a SurveyMonkey is good. JotForm is good in terms of surveys, but if you've been using some other tools, make sure you put those into the chat as well. And I see a lot of questions, so that's good. Keep asking your questions. Now, someone said they received a grant to build their website 2 years ago. So see how it's possible. I mean, literally, I get asked all the time, is there a grant for XYZ, fill in the blanks? There's a grant for almost anything. Okay. There's a grant for almost any and everything, almost any and everything, right? There's a grant for. It's about researching to find who's going to provide you the money. So back to the application. Staff leading the project. Yes. What staff are you putting in place to lead the project? Maybe it's you. Maybe it's other staff. whomever it is, you're going to need their bios and their resumes. And I know those of you who are for-profits, you probably have not updated your resume in a long time. This is more homework. Update those bios and those resumes, okay? At the end of the day, this is about accountability, because that funder, they want to know that you have the right people in place, right, to lead that particular service or program or project. All right. So we're on to the budget. What do you need to know about the budget and your grant application? You need to itemize your expenses. So if you're asking for $50,000, what is it for? Don't just say, okay, this is for an executive director, if that's what it's for. You have to be specific. I'm paying the executive director $50,000 every 6 months, or $50,000 for the year, right? This person is a 1099 contractor, or maybe this person is a W-2 employee. In that case, you're going to have to show the benefits, right? Just be specific, right? And when you're including this information in the budget, talk about the time frame, how often you're going to be utilizing whatever those resources are, right? So maybe you're looking for program personnel, and you need to be able to say, this is a 1099 person that's working X number of hours a week and X number of weeks or months, or even for the quarter or for the year. Make sure costs are reasonable. We know the cost of living in Ohio is very different than in California, right? So make sure your costs are reasonable. Budget narrative. This is where you're providing the explanations, right? The numbers go in the budget. You need $50,000 for an ED, but you're going to talk about how often that money will be utilized. Is it to pay that person every 6 months or every year? That information goes into what's called the budget narrative. So that's where you're explaining the numbers. All right, this is a fun one, sustainability. Now, all of you know that once you get a grant does not mean you're guaranteed to get that grant in the next year. You're going to have to write in that grant application, if I don't get money in year 2, how am I still going to sustain my program, right, beyond the grant period? Now, for those of you who are for-profits, it can be a little easier because you can talk about, maybe increasing advertising to increase sales or something like that. But for nonprofits, sometimes it tends to be a little bit more difficult. I want you to think about, we're going to do a quick activity. Think about that high school. They got the $20,000 for the tutoring program in year 1. They have to write in that application in year 2. If we don't get the $20,000, we will still sustain our program in year 2. And this is how we're going to do it. So I want you to put into the chat, think about a high school. How could a high school talk about how they would sustain their program and raise money, right, in year 2 to keep their program going, because they may not have grant money. And I mentioned before, it's so important for you to have different avenues of keeping your program afloat, because funders, they don't want to be the only funder providing money for your program, because they know that grants are guaranteed in year 2. They may not be able to give you the money. They don't want to know that the program is just going to end just because they didn't give you a grant in year 2. So I want you to put into the chat, think about it. This is a high school, year 2. What are they going to put in the application as to how they're going to come up with money, right, to sustain their tutoring program? You're exactly, Tiffany, fundraising, right? Maybe they're talking about selling school merchandise. Maybe it's a talent show. Maybe it's some type of community musical, or maybe they're washing cars, right? Or maybe they are selling candy, right? You have to be creative and coming up with ways that you are still going to be able to fund your program in year 2 when you don't get the money. You're going to be asked, okay, this question, so you're going to have to come up with some really creative answers, right? For those of you who are looking at bid proposals, I want to take a couple of seconds to talk about this. These are for the for-profits, right? And you may want to get a contract. It could be a city, state, county, or a federal contract. And just what you need to know is that I don't want you to focus on the price and underbid. Too many people think, oh, if I put in the lowest price bid, I'm going to get the job. Well, no, not at all. And it will probably backfire, because if I'm a contractor and I'm putting out a bid, I have an idea how much the project is going to cost. So if I'm asking people to build a fence, I have an idea of what it's going to cost to build that fence. And if I know it's about $1 million and you give me a bid proposal, for $50,000, I know that you're not qualified. You're not ready. You don't have personnel and you're using cheap products, right? So you cannot, right, think that you're going to just put in a super low bid and get chosen based on price alone. What you need to do is focus on your capability, right? Maybe you have a staff and they've built 100 fences in the past, right? Or maybe you can say, look, I've never missed a deadline. I've always come within the time frame, and my staff and we're experienced of building 100 or 200 fences in the past. Look at how you can go above and beyond based on your capabilities and your qualifications, because it can't always be focused on, okay, I'm going to provide this super low bid, right? This is really about things that you have to do before you even write a single syllable of the grant application. So much of it is mindset. I really need for you to shift to a winning position, okay? This is real, because if you go into grant writing thinking, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going to get this money. Oh, the application is going to be 200 pages. I can't do it. You probably won't do it. You cannot get grant money if you do not provide a grant application. Okay. And what I don't want you to be is scared of grant writing. It's not what it used to be, right? I've been doing this for 15 years, and I know that now, especially the for-profit grants, they're 2 to 3 pages. There was one literally last week that was 500 words, a $25,000 grant, right? So please, please, please get out of your head that this is going to be some dissertation. It is not. I saw 2 million, multi-million-dollar grants from the government. They were 7 single-space pages or 15 double-space pages. These are $1 million grants, right? So most of your grants will be much smaller. Please don't feel as if you can't do this, because I told you before, nobody can tell your story better than you. You can do this, right? Yes, you'll have to provide some effort. You have to do some research, but guess what? You know the results are going to be worth it. You'll finally be able to open, right, your organization, whether it's nonprofit or for-profit, right? Or maybe you're open and you're tired of bootstrapping. You're tired of asking your family for money, right? You're tired of getting loans, right? We're talking about free money here, free grant money. And you can do this. Now, these are some do's. And if you don't take anything else away from this afternoon, please hear me. Whatever you do, meet with the funder first. If at all possible, meet with that funder first. I've been in meetings where I've heard foundations say, look, if you don't call me, email me, get in touch with me, set up a meeting, more than likely the application is going in the garbage. Now, that's not all foundations. Some foundations don't want to meet with you. They will tell you, download the application, complete it, fill it out, that's it. But if you have the opportunity to meet with a funder and set up that meeting, please do that. In that meeting, you're going to learn information about the grant that is not on that website. They're going to learn information about you that they'll never get from your website, right? Because you're building a relationship, and grant funding is as much about relationship building as anything else. And I've been in too many of those meetings where literally, if they like you, they will tell you what to put in the grant application, right? They will guide you into putting what you need to put in the grant application so that you can get funded, right? So please meet with the funder. Next, deadline driven. Please, if the timeline says 4:59 p.m. and you submit it at 5 o'clock, you're going to have a bad day. You're going to have a really bad day, because that will be a lot of work for not. Okay. Adhere to timelines. Answer every question. So if there's a question that you think is blank, or you want to just keep it blank, whatever you do, don't put in NA, because if it is an application that's submitted through a portal and you are leaving questions blank, it may reject the application. So make sure you put in NA. And please let someone else look at that application before you submit it, because you want to make sure it is as stellar as possible. These are some don'ts. Look, I love a good template, but please don't use cookie cutter answers. Don't take one grant application and copy and paste it into 20 other grant applications. This is literally what somebody was trying to do. So no, every grant application is different. You can use a template to talk about things like, your mission, because that doesn't change, maybe how you do research, maybe your staff, but there are questions that will require a different and a unique answer. And whatever you do, don't ask for too much money when you approach a funder for the first time. This is important, right? So community foundations in particular don't always put the amount of the grant. Now, a lot of grants will tell you it's $5,000 or $10,000, but there are grants where they won't tell you what the amount is. You have to come to them and tell them what you're asking for. So if it's the first time, don't ask for $100,000 because you won't get it, right? They don't know that you're a fiscally responsible organization. My recommendation is to always ask for between $5,000 and $25,000 when you are approaching a funder for the first time. And again, we want you to use Grammarly. Now, I talked to you about the importance of meeting with the funder, right? How do you do that? You use a letter of introduction. What do you put in the letter? You want to describe your organization, right? You want to talk about what that need is, right? Your target population, your program and your projects, and how they align to the mission of the organization. You're not asking for any money because this letter is to get you that all important meeting. Now, you could do some research and try to get the right email address or the right name, and you can get the right name from the 990. But how do you send it to them? Via email. You don't ever want to send something to like info@abcfoundation.org because you don't want it to go into the hemisphere somewhere and never come back, right? You need a real email address. And I've been giving you tea all afternoon, but this is a teapot. Getemail.io is like the best thing since sliced bread. I tell you, it is a software program that will give you the email address of just about anybody around the world, right, that's working in an organization or a company. I use it all the time to get emails from people I work with, whether it's Italy or Germany, you name it, right? It is phenomenal. And here's that word again. It is free. It is free for like the first 10 or 15 emails. And then, yes, it is a monthly subscription of about $60 a month. But look, use your 10 or 15 free emails, do your research, and start getting the email addresses of people that you're going to send this letter of introduction to. And I want to make sure it is dropped into the chat. So Irene, if you could drop the getemail.io into the chat so that people can have that, because this is really, really important, that this particular email is utilized for you, because what I want you to do, I want you to make absolutely sure that you're sending the information to the right person. And it is amazing. Like this program, like I said, I use it all the time. It is absolutely amazing. All right. So there it is. It's in the chat. All right. So we're coming up to research now. How do you find out what grants are available? How do you get these grants, right? Foundation Directory Online is the leading source of information on funders in the country. This is important. And it's about $50 a month. So if you're on a budget, take your $50 and find as many foundations as you can, right? But they're going to give you the names of organizations, the names of foundations, right? Instrumental.com, they're more pricey. They're about $200 a month. They give you the name of the organization and the open grant, right? They give you the open grant. That is important. Grants.gov is the single source of federal grants, over 900 grant programs from like 26 agencies. The Lilly Foundation is great for religious organizations. If you have educational funds, go to Grant Gopher. Any last minute grants, I love grantwatch.com. If you are really looking for a lot of grants for-profit organizations, I like grantstation.com. And then we're minority organizations. So you need to know about urbanawarenessusa.org because it's Black owned and it's a phenomenal resource of grant information, right? And this is what you're going to do. I'm going to actually move to this slide right here because it encompasses the last one. I want to show you what you need to do. So you put in the type of criteria, business, nonprofit, or individual, right? And then you decide, are you going to look local or national? I always recommend trying to get local grants first, right? Because once you've gotten money, locally, is a little bit easier to get money from national organizations. Like starting your local community first. You can do both. You can start local and national, but just make sure you are approaching your local founders and funders. So you can put in here where you're located. You can ask for grants by city, by state, by region. Put in who is your target population. Are you helping veterans or homeless or K through 12 areas of interest? What is it? Is it religious, right? Religious organizations, maybe it's faith-based, maybe again, it's business and industry, right? You put in all that information, you literally hit a button, and Grant Station will give you open grant applications. They will give you proposals that are open and available for you to apply to. All right, so I told you I was going to give you some grant research information. These are available grants for you as Black-owned organizations. The U.S. Black Chambers of Commerce, they partner with American Express to provide business grants. We back blackbusinesses.com. We know the DOT, Department of Transportation, they have an entire program that's geared for Black-owned organizations. Facebook has a Black Creators Grant. The National Association for Self-Employed people have growth grants, right? We know about MBDA, those are business grants. FedEx has a grant for small businesses where they really like to support Black organizations. Northwest Mutual has a Black Founders Accelerator program. Now, for those of you who think you need W-2 or 1099 employees, you don't. There are organizations that will give to you if you are like tiny, like teeny tiny, or maybe you have an all volunteer staff, right? You don't have any paid employees. Yes, you can still get grant money, right? Amarillo is one foundation that gives to organizations that only have volunteers. If you are a faith-based organization, I know some of you are on here, Mustard Seed Foundation, all they do is give money to faith-based organizations. If you're in the fashion industry, Harlem Capital has money. The Lilly Foundation, they just provided a $23 million grant that's geared to Black churches and HBCUs. GiveButter.com, that is a group of Black philanthropists, and they give grant money to other Black organizations, right? Barclays Bank, they have a small business wins grant. Now, for you startups, don't think that there's not grant money for you just because you're starting up. Ensile has startup grants, and then you want to look at Sky's the Limit if you are a startup, right? Now, I know there's a lot of Black women on the webinar with me, so this is for you. HelloAlice.com. You have to sign up with HelloAlice.com because that's the largest portal of grants for small businesses that are for profit, okay? And I call these next to the credit card grants, MasterCard and Visa. They have programs for Black women. Kickstarter, Creative Capital, and Skoll Foundation. They have grants that they like to provide to minority organizations. Goldman Sachs has a $1 million Black women grant that is geared for Black women-led nonprofits, okay? And some other people are putting some grants in the chat. Shannon says Galaxy Stars has grants. So Cartier has a grant program. Amber Grants for Women, they give away $10,000 every single month. If you are like maybe health and wellness based, you need to look at the Women's Sports Foundation program. Now, I want you to put into the chat, what do you think about when you think about banks and money? Really quickly into the chat. We're coming to the end and don't go anywhere. We are going to talk about the Q&A and I have a surprise for you. So put into the chat, banks and yes, most people think about loans, right? Loans, high interest rates, credits. Did you know that banks are some of the largest providers of grant money? Not loans, grant money, grant, free money. Banks provide free grant money. Okay, you have to make sure you're going to a bank that has a really good footprint in your area. You're not going to the bank manager because they're going to get you to sign up for a loan, right? You're not going to go to your loan officer. You're not going to go to your mortgage provider. You want to go to a vice president at that bank, typically of community development or community organizations, because they have the ability to write grants. And a young lady was on my webinar. Literally, she found a bank that had a good footprint in her area, went to the vice president and applied for a $2.3 million grant. Do not sleep on banks. Banks provide grant. Yes, the vice president Usually it's like a vice president of a community development or community affairs. You want to get to the vice president, right? They provide grant funding. Now, don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for staying with me. As I mentioned before, I've been doing this for 15 years. And one thing I know is that there's more money available for Black organizations now than there has ever been. I mean, earmarked for Black organizations, right? And so I knew that I could only help so many people if I was just writing one grant at a time. So what did I do? I created a very simple, very easy to use grant writing course, because what did I say before? Nobody can tell your story like you. Don't be afraid of this. You can do this. Some grants are 2 and 3 pages. I give you a step-by-step path to this, finding to this free money that's out here, right? I want you to be impactful and to fulfill your mission without doing what? Bootstrapping, asking for funds from family and friends and getting loans, right? Loans are fine, right? But at the end of the day, what do we want? Free money. Think about $20,000 and $30,000 and $50,000 grants. Like, what could you do with that? Could you finally open or maybe operate in the black, or maybe expand? This program literally cuts your research and writing time in half. But what I always ask people to do, please do this within a community. I hear horror stories every single day about people being scammed, people being not even delivered on the promises of people who said they're going to write a grant, right? Please do this in a safe space, a safe community where I'm here to help you as a coach. I will serve as your coach, right? I get this question all the time. Is there a grant for this? You won't have to ask that anymore, because you will know exactly how to find grants for exactly what you're doing, right? But this time you'll have the right way of doing it, and you'll use a method that has worked for me. This method here in this course, this is how I got the $17 million. I'm going to give you those best grant research techniques, right? I'm going to help you find people who are literally looking to give you money. I'm going to show you how you approach the funders. I just gave you a snippet today. And of course, I'm going to teach you how to write every part of the narrative. And furthermore, you'll be able to write grants without paying a grant writer. And the narrative, if I teach you in the class how to write your history, I'm going to show you a piece of that narrative that I wrote, right? That was a winning grant. Every example is from a winning grant that I personally wrote. So I'm going to show you how to write that history, right? You're going to get 12 modules. There's about 35 lessons. And I know people learn differently, so I start off with a video. Every lesson starts with a video for your visual learners, right? And then I lay out the lesson, and then I lay out the task. And guess what? This is not hard. Like, you're writing about something that you believe in, and that's something that you're passionate about. And then I have these really kind of fun, silly quizzes. And of course, I give you planners, because you want to be organized, right? You want to keep abreast of what you're applying for. And of course, I give you those real grant examples. So yes, you will have absolutely every part of a typical grant application. You will see what a winning grant looks like. And I'm doing what nobody else is doing. Like, nobody else is doing this. I give you a list of over 450 grant funders, literally from so many different areas, from education to veterans to homeless to service industries to restaurants. I give you that list. It is literally a part of this course. And too many people like me who are instructors, they leave you. Like, once you buy their course, they are gone. I am here. I have a private Facebook group that you're going to be a part of, and I'm in there all the time. And if anybody's in that Facebook group, please give yourself a shout out, because they are amazing. Like, literally, if you come to that Facebook group and say, I have a piece of a grant, I need to know how to answer this question, or I wrote it, could somebody look at it? There are people in there willing to help you, right? I have professional grant writers that are in the Facebook group, and I'm in there too a lot. And again, I don't leave you alone. Every single month, I give you 1 hour of group coaching. And I'm telling you, that coaching session is on fire, because if you are stuck, you're going to leave unstuck. Okay. Now, what is it worth, right? I've had the course audited like 3 times now, and the modules are worth $35.49. Just the videos alone are worth over $600. The list of the funders, which is now $450, is worth $499. And I give you planners, and I told you the planners are important. If you're grant writing, you want to keep track of what you're doing. So I give you all of that free, and the workbooks, you get to download everything, right? Now, how much is it? The course is valued by the 3 auditors at $5,000. So my regular price is $997. That's the regular price of the program. It's on sale now. Why? Because we're in Women's History Month. Yes, it's on sale for $497. But that's not what you're paying. You decided to join me. This is for the culture, people. This is for the culture. You decided to join me because I know you need help. You came here because you need help, right? You need free grant money. So since you came here, you spent your time with me, guess what? I'm taking 50% off the price of the $497. Look, people pay the $497 all day, but because you came here for this 1 hour, $497 is cut in half for you. It's only $247. I'm telling you, people think that's a monthly payment. It is not. You're one and done. You are one and done. And I'm doing something that people know I don't do. I give you 2 different payments if you want, right? $137.50. You make that payment for 2 months. And just so you know, I don't drip my course. A lot of people drip courses where they give you a little bit of information at a time. No. Even if you pay the $137.50, you get the entire course. You get everything. It's all online. It's online. You start when you pay, right? And it's self-paced, but you have to use this coupon. I want to tell you this. To get the 50% off, the $247 price, you have to use that code, MAR16N like Nancy. You have to use that code. And thanks, Irene, for dropping the link as to where you buy the course. Put in the code, and you'll take 50% off of the $497 price, and then you'll be charged $247. Now, if you want to make the 2 payments, you don't even need a code. So if you want to pay the $137.50 a month for 2 months, you don't need a code. But if you want to make one payment, one and done, $247, you need the code. And yes, the course never expires because look, we're all busy. We're either running nonprofits or running small businesses, and we might say we're going to get to something a week from now if we don't do it. Why? Because life happens. So I don't want you to feel as if you're stressed out, like you have to complete this in a week. The course is literally forever. It does not expire. And so once you're done with the course and you have a really great grant proposal because you followed the questions and you're ready to apply for grants, I give you the list of 450 grant providers. All of the organizations on that list provide grants. So like you're ready. You're ready. Yes, you get all of this. It's worth $5,000. You're getting it for $247. Yes, it's for the culture. If you want to make the 2 payments, you can. But yes, it is deadline driven because in 3 days it's over with, right? It's over with in 3 days. So Sunday is it. The 50% goes away and you'll be paying the $497, which is what people pay. So you have 3 days to get it because I want you to be successful and I want you to get this money. So if you're buying the course and you go into the page, this is what you're going to see. The $497, you hit purchase. And then it will ask you for the coupon code. Or if you want to make the 2 payments, you don't even need a code. So on the order page to the left where it says have a code, you put in your code and instantly it will take off the $250. And you end up paying like $247. Now, some of you might want to meet with me privately, right? So that's normally $495 an hour. But if you want to meet with me privately, we do a deep dive into your organization. I'm providing it to you for $195 for the hour if you buy it when you buy the course. So a lot of people take that opportunity because they really want like personalized experience. They want me to do a deep dive with them in their organization. You're welcome to do that. Why is this important now? And this is really what I want you to hear. This is crucial. These funds that I've been talking about, money that was based on the George Floyd incident, the COVID-19 funds, all of this money that's available for Black organizations, I have no idea how long it's going to be available. I do know that there are organizations like Walmart and Verizon that they will tell you, you need to apply for the grant now because we don't know that we're going to have money in June. Like when the Funds are expended. They are expended. Like that is it. So you need to apply now for grant money. Please don't wait. And the next free coaching session, the group coaching, is Monday, March 27th. So you are coming in at a perfect time, because during that during the coaching session, let me tell you, I get you straight. I get you straight during the coaching session. It is amazing. You come to me with questions, and I will make sure that you are on the right track. And it's free. Everything is free when you buy the course. People are asking about the Facebook group. When you buy the course, you'll get 3 emails. One is a welcome, and you'll need to set up your account, your username and your email. And then you will get another email with a link to the Facebook group. You hit the Facebook group, and then we will admit you to the Facebook group. And then the third email is another welcome, right? But what I'm saying here to you, please don't wait, because for many organizations, the money will not be there in a month or 2 months or 3 months. And the program works. I mean, literally, the program works. I had a client set up a meeting with a funder. The funder didn't know them. The funder had never heard of them, but they saw the introductory email and they said, okay, well, this is matching our mission. And they sat down with the organization, and in 30 minutes, they walked away with $35,000 for an organization that didn't even know them. Right? So the elements of the program works. And these are just testimonials. Oh my gosh, Farah last month got 5 church grants for her mom. Like, you can't make some of this stuff up. She got 5 church grants for her mother. Reverend Christine Smith told me last week she's been able to get over $35,000 for her church ministry. So for you faith-based organizations, there's grant money for you. Kelly got over $75,000. This was a couple of months ago for her client, and it was so successful, she started writing grants, was able to get grants for herself, right? Brian, last month, received a $30,000 grant because what did he do? Met with the funder. That is key. That is a key takeaway for you, right? Meet with that funder. So you have the link. No, Shannon, it's all lower caps. It's all lower caps, right? So it's lower cap MAR 16N. So make sure you put in lower caps. So the link, people are asking for the link. If you could put in the link, Irene, to get to the course. Right. So we're going to do Q&A right now. So yes, people are asking. It's not $247 a month. It's not. It's one price. That's it. It's $247. That's it. And then yes, I'm serving as your coach. I don't like bring in substitute people. In that Facebook group, I go in there, answer questions. In the group coaching, I do the group coaching, right? If you want to meet with me one-on-one, you certainly can, right? That's the $195 an hour. Or you can come and buy the course and pay the $247 and ask me free questions in the group coaching. Okay, or come to the Facebook group, because there are hundreds of students in the Facebook group. And it's so beautiful because they help each other out. They literally help each other out. It's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right. So we're going to go to the Q&A. All right. Q&A. As a small business, is it too far gone to apply for grants, like for the government, the VA? So typically, as a small business, if you are applying for a government grant, a lot of people ask for, or they bid on contracts, right? Now, there's 2 ways as a for-profit to get grant funding from the government. The government application for the grant needs to say that it is open to small businesses. Just look in the grant requirements, right? I would say, depending upon what you do, that is one of the most difficult grants to get, are government grants. I would start with your local foundations first. Start local first, because that can be a heavy lift, right? Because there's more requirements and there's more grant reporting with those government grants. So you're talking about the VA. So I don't know if that means you provide services for veterans organizations. If you do, Tiffany, I can assure you that there are millions of dollars in grants available to organizations that serve veterans. Okay, Sharice, I have your information for the website. Okay, you have a home for transitional supportive living. Is it better to ask for project funding to expand, or does that fall under operating? So with operating dollars, you put the money wherever you want, right? You put it wherever you want. So you can ask for operating dollars to apply the money where you want, or if you have transitional living, if you have that home, a project could be, or a service could be, that you want to specifically ask for money that pays for food, right? That's a piece of your program. So maybe you want to ask for food, or maybe you want to ask for money that will pay for the lease on that home. But if you just want money where you can put anywhere, there's operations money. Okay, Michelle doesn't see the link to purchase. So Irene, if you could put the link to purchase in there. What are good grants for the trucking industry? Well, it depends on what you want to do. There are certainly grants available for the trucking industry. It depends on what type of industry you have, where you're going, what kind of goods that you're transporting. Do you know of any culinary travel or exploration grants? I'm not sure what you mean by exploration grants or travel grants. So what does that mean? What are you doing? Like no one's going to give you money to just travel the world. Like, what are you doing when you're traveling, right? Are you maybe going to underrepresented communities to discover something or to assist with an issue? Keep in mind what I said before. You have to be addressing an issue, right? Or a problem, right? And so even if you the lady is asking about the trucking industry, right? Well, we know that is an industry where if memory serves me right, there's a lack of personnel there to fulfill trucking industry jobs, right? So you're doing that, and I don't know if you're male or female, but I know anytime you have a female that is working within a male dominated area, it's much easier to get funding from different organizations for sure, right? Nonprofit International Young Chefs. Okay, so that is what is going to get you grant money, right? If you have a nonprofit and you're working with International Young Chefs, so maybe you are training young chefs around the country, or maybe you are learning yourself to hone your craft as a young chef. Okay, that is getting you closer to getting grant money, not just saying I want to travel and I'm in the culinary industry, right? So it depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it. So Ariana, daycare, let me just quickly tell you about daycare. There are millions of dollars, millions, maybe billions of dollars available for early childhood education and daycare. I did a presentation to a Facebook group. And actually, Ariana, I want you to send me an email because I have some information for you. I did a presentation within a Facebook group that services daycare centers, right? They want to make sure daycare centers are profitable. And so I gave a presentation it was a special customized grant presentation, and it was strictly for daycare centers. And I was able to come up with literally a list of like over 50 grants that were just for daycare center owners. Now that was germane to that particular presentation that I did. But again, it goes back to research. There's money available. It's just about how do you go about getting. And for all of you, I want you to be successful, right? I want you to be successful. So definitely, I want you to, for those of you who are remaining, I want you to put into the chat, I want to get grant money. I want to get grant money. For those of you who are left with me, I want to get grant money. I want you to put this into the chat. I want to get grant money. All right. So Sharice, you're saying I missed a question. Okay. I'm trying to start an event space venue. All I have is an LLC. What would I put on my website? I have no location, or it isn't open for business. What would the website say? I also need your website person. I want to start an event. So what is the purpose of your event space? So you need to be a little bit further along, right, to have a website, because you could say space is coming soon. You could talk about what are your ideal customers, right? So is your event space going to focus on weddings, right? Or entertainment, like DJs and entertainment. So talk about what your ideal customer is, right? Who would be renting out your space? Maybe it's location based. Maybe you can say coming soon to the neighborhood of XYZ, right? So you want to be getting this information together, thinking about what you want that website to talk about and to say. All right. So let me make sure I have covered all of the rest of the questions. So I hope to see you in the Facebook group. Absolutely. I hope to see you in the Facebook group, because I don't want you to be in the same position literally a month from now that you're in now. I don't want you to be in the same position. I want you to be further along. I want you to be further ahead so that you can get some of all this grant money that's out here, right? Oh my gosh, training the kids to become chefs, Rod. Yes, yes, yes. There's grant money out here for you. Absolutely. Underserved kids. I want to mention there's a very famous restaurant here in the Cleveland community, and it's like a 4-star restaurant. And all of their chefs are ex-convicts, right? Or people who have served time in the penal system. And his whole program was about training these people who are coming out of being incarcerated to become chefs. And he gets all kind of grant funding. So what you're doing, absolutely, there's grants for you. The daycare center, there's grants for you, right? So let me see if there's any other questions that I have missed, and then we're going to wrap it up. So yes, there's grants for assisted living. So again, there's grants for just about anything. It's about how you research to find the grants that are for you. So yes, there's grants for assisted living. There's grants for people who are in the restaurant industry. You think you read about that restaurant? Edwin's is called. Edwin's, Edwins. They are phenomenal. Yes, Ariana, Edwin's in Shaker Heights. Yes, they're phenomenal. Phenomenal. So let's see. African American Landscape Company, I want to get a grant for equipment. Yes. So yes, there's grants for just about anything. So I'm going to see if there are any other questions other than, is there a grant for something? Because the answer probably is yes. It's about doing the research. Okay. So let me just quickly see. I think the purchase link was put back in. So Irene, if you could just drop that purchase link, because people are wanting to purchase the course. And I want to help you, right? Because people know that I'm a woman of faith, that I consider myself to be a servant leader. I'm here to help you. Like, I want to help you get this money. I just can't tell you how long the money is going to be available, because I don't know. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Cynthia, Ariana, Sharice, I want to get grant money. I want to get grant money. Absolutely. All right, let me see if there are any other questions. Do I have to be a nonprofit or 501c3 for daycare grants? No. You can have a for-profit. Will you email the course link? We're going to email. Yes. So Irene, if you could please put the course link into the chat. People are asking for the course link. If you could please put the course link into the chat, because people are asking for the course link. But yes, you will get an email with the course link, because you only have 3 days to get the 50% off, right? So Irene, if you are still here with me, if you could please put the link into the chat, and then the code, because you will need the code. Absolutely, you'll need the code. So here is the link so that everybody will have it. All right, so there's the link. And thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you so much, everybody. I think I've gone through all of the questions. So yes, there's grants for the trucking industry. Community agriculture, urban gardens, Jay, absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much money for what's called food deserts, where there are communities where there are no grocery stores. There's nowhere to get fresh foods. So this whole idea of urban gardens and community agricultural centers where people can get fresh foods that live in underserved community is huge. It's huge. All right, so I think I have answered all of the questions. Let me go back over to the chat real quick. All right. So those of you, yes, let me make sure this is put into. All right. So I think you have everything you need. Lowercase for the code, and so Tara, I want to get grant money for HBCU Elite. So Tara, what I would advise you to do, again, I mentioned before, the Lilly Foundation, they're the largest provider of money for religious organizations, but they also just granted $23 million to provide funding for HBCUs and for Black churches. I would absolutely look into that. I would look into the Lilly Foundation for sure, because it looks like that's a really, really, really good program. That's a really super idea. Super idea. So yes, look at the Lilly Foundation. So let's see, media. There's a grant right now by the Center for Public Broadcasting has a grant right now for those in media. So yes, there's plenty of grants available. It's about how you do the research, which I will teach you how to do when you get the course. So I think we are wrapping up. Yes. So everybody, let me do this before I finish. I want to make sure you put these 2 email addresses into your safe senders list, because I don't want the replay going to your spam folder. So grant writing for non-writers. Please put those 2 emails into your safe senders list, because you're going to get the replay via your email, and you'll get the code, you'll get the link, you'll get the way to order, everything. But I see some people ordering now, so yay! I will see you almost immediately over in the Facebook group for those of you who are ordering right now. And make sure you do this while you're thinking about it, because I don't want you to forget, because I want to see you at the group session, because people are asking so many questions. All of those questions can be answered in the Facebook group and also in the group training. So thank you so much, everybody. Again, my name is Linda Peavy. I'm the owner of LaPaul Consulting and the founder of the course Grant Writing for Non-Writers, Keys to Winning Grant Proposals. And this has been the webinar that is really geared for how you research, write, and find grants for Black-owned businesses, for-profits, and also Black-led nonprofits. We know the money is there, so let's go out and get it. All right. So hopefully I will see you soon in the Facebook group and in group coaching. Whatever you do, move forward. Don't be where you are a week from now. Don't be asking where there are grants or looking at everybody else and wondering how on earth did that person get a grant. Okay. I'm here to tell you how. I'm here to help you to get it right. I'm willing to help you learn how it could be you, because you have to ask yourself, why not me? Like, if these other people are getting it, why not me? All right. So thank you so much, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.